Oh, right. There's no intro here. God damn it. When was the last time we recorded a Kulturecast together?
Well,
the Arthur episode?
Yeah, I was going to say, you mean one that we kept or?
Yeah, it's I threw it away because it was just so bad.
It's like, you know what? This doesn't need to go out on the air. No, it's probably big.
Yeah, and that movie didn't even have Jeffrey Jones in it.
No. Is it even a movie if it doesn't have Jeffrey Jones in it?
Well, it's a movie that you can watch and not cringe every time he's on screen.
Look.
Look what?
Nothing was ever proven.
Oh, yeah, it was. He's a registered sex offender. Oh, my God.
It is then.
Yeah, right. Well, proven in a court of law, even. If you're listening to this episode of the Kulturecast, I am still your host, Chris Stachiw, much to the chagrin of many, and I am joined by my good friend. He's my good friend, and that's all he is right now, folks. You like that? You know what you are? You're one of the hosts of Rankin' on Bass, a podcast where we talk about Rankin' and Bass shows over at weirdingwaymedia.com.
Yeah, that's all. That's all I need to be. That's all I ever need to be.
Your friend and mine, Richard Haddam.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. We're doing Milos Forman movies for Mike White May, and Mike White, in his infinite wisdom, which I approve of, didn't pick Amadeus.
Oh, for God's sake.
Look, we both know Mike, so it makes perfect sense.
Right. Nope.
And I appreciate that. I do appreciate us not watching the things that are the Milos Forman movies, at least not directly from Mike. Because for me, it challenges me as a viewer.
Mike is like my friend Larry, who loves all the bands that you know, but his favorite song is always something you've never heard of.
Right.
It's like he's a huge Beatles fan. What's your favorite Beatles song? And he's like, Ducks in a Pond. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? It's or something. And I'm like, what is that? And then it's like, what's your favorite Rolling Stone song? Tin Monkeys. I'm like, what? I never heard of this. Can't you just say Sympathy for the Devil and have a conversation with a human being? But no, everything's got to be the deepest cut of all time.
Well, speaking of deep cuts, what's your favorite Salieri song?
Oh, such a burn.
Proceeds to lift bodice and farts. So on this episode of the Kulturecast, we are talking the film by Milos Forman from 1984. That's not a Czech New Wave film. It's one of his 3 films that he's more or less known for. We're going to be talking about Amadeus.
Are we going to appall you with something confidential and disgusting? Let's hope so, because that is what you really like. Unconfessed crimes of buried wickedness. If that is what brings you to us, the prospect of hearing horrors, you shall not go unrewarded.
I don't believe it. The whole city is talking. You hear it all over. What a story. What a scandal. What a comedy. What a tragedy. Incredible. I don't believe it. Who can believe it? What horrors have you heard? Tell us. Tell us. Tell us at once. Tell us about Wolfgang. Amadeus. Mozart. Mozart?
How good is he, this Mozart? He's remarkable.
Is an unprincipled, spoiled, conceited brat.
I'm a vulgar man. But I assure you, my music is not.
He is divinely inspired.
He is arrogant, vulgar, obscene.
He creates music for the gods.
He is passionate.
He burns with fire.
He is an angel.
He is a devil.
He claimed he'd been poisoned.
Some said he accused a man.
Some said the man was Salieri.
Salieri?
Salieri.
I don't believe it.
All the same.
Could it be possible?
Did Salieri do it after all?
Did he murder Amadeus?
Amadeus, the man,
The music, the magic, the madness, the murder, the mystery, the motion picture. Amadeus. Everything you've heard is true.
So the film is directed by Milos Forman, based on the stage play Amadeus by Peter Shaffer, who also wrote the screenplay for the film. And it stars F. Murray Abraham and Tom Hulsey as Salieri and Amadeus, two people who didn't have the rivalry in real life that they do in the movie. But you know what? Storytelling fucking rocks, baby. And shit like this is why storytelling exists. Because those two dudes, the story that we are watching and the story of reality, let's just separate it right here. Before we even talk about it, it's not reality, but that's fine because it's about the rivalry between Amadeus and Salieri is not like, that's not a real thing the way it happens.
Okay. Got it.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
But again, for the sake of storytelling, it is. But Salieri and Mozart Salieri has a rivalry with Mozart, who he believes is God or God's stand-in on Earth. Richard, you were the one who brought this show to the table this movie to the table because you, I'm assuming, are a fan. I had never seen it. I'm super excited to talk about it with you, but I'm going to give you the floor. Why are we talking about Amadeus? And what did you think the first time you saw it? And what did you think now?
Well, I have always loved it. I really, I loved it when I first saw it. And then, you know, you go 10, 15, 20 years, you see it again and you're never sure, but then it's like, oh no, this was great. And then I, watched it again last night with my 15-year-old son, Dashiell, who sat from beginning to end, the 3-hour director's cut, which was weirdly all we could find. And like on the pay services, but that was fine. And we were riveted. It's not hard to watch. It's not like, oh, I'm not smart enough to get this. It is balls out entertainment from the first minute to the final minute. And it's about something that so few movies are ever about, which is art and artistic aspiration and professional jealousy. And it touches on things that I have felt. And when I watched the movie, okay, and I'm sorry, let me just very quickly give you my rundown on what Amadeus is about for those of you who may not have seen it but want to see it. It is about another composer who lived at the time of Mozart named Salieri, and what it feels like to be a composer at the time of Mozart. Now, here's the thing. Mozart was not necessarily considered broadly by the concert-going public as a genius in the way that he is now. In fact, Salieri was more popular at the time than Mozart was. But Salieri's story, and that's what this is about a guy who always wanted to be great at music and composition. And he linked, and as many people did in the past, he linked his ability and his output with his faith in God. And he basically made a deal as a young man with God saying, if you give me the talent, I will devote myself to it in your honor. I will write music as a way of exalting my belief in you. And it was sort of accepted then that talent came from God.
Right.
So when Mozart comes around, two things. One, he's better than Salieri. And two, Salieri knows it. He's smart enough to go, this guy's a friggin' genius. But he's also kind of a vulgarian, chasing women around and laughing too loud and drinking and farting. And why would God, and this is how he sees it, why would God give him all the talent instead of me? I'm the one who is God's biggest fan. I'm your devoted servant. So why are you favoring this vulgarian who probably doesn't even believe in you? And that's what he struggles with. So in your memory, he's got a rivalry with Mozart, and when you describe the movie, but when you watch the movie, his argument is with God. He is pissed off at God for doing this, and he's going to get his revenge on God. That's what the movie's about, which makes it fascinating. And it sounds very, pretentious and intellectual, and it is not. It is filled with music and costumes and wigs. It's an amazing, and laughs and intrigue. I found it relentlessly entertaining.
I think for me, this movie would not be as interesting. It's entertaining. It wouldn't be as interesting if there wasn't the back and forth with God aspect to this, and that internal strife that Salieri feels. Because that like back and forth between Mozart and Salieri is fantastic, but it's those scenes where Salieri is like cursing the heavens, where it's like this is what makes this movie something special, is the metatextual nature of what we're talking about here, which is, like you said, what is it like to be someone alive at a time where someone who is at the top of their game is operating, and you and everybody else are just going to be in the shadow because, not even by choice, not even because they're putting you there. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. And the brilliance of Peter Shaffer to realize that, well, you don't want to write a play about a guy who's pissed off at Mozart because Mozart's more talented. That just makes him a douchebag,
It makes him venal, right? Like,
makes him venal and sort of like, well, get over it, dude. You suck, or whatever. But you're not going to have a level of sympathy. But by making it into more of a triangle, by having a guy who is very sincere about his love for music, and a guy who, Salieri does not hate Mozart. Again, he hates God for giving Mozart all the talent instead of him. So he is almost helpless to not kind of love Mozart. Again, because he recognizes his genius. And by the way, he's one of the few people who does. This is not a movie about how Mozart is selling out concert halls and Salieri isn't. It's quite the opposite. Salieri's doing great. He is in Vienna. He is the court composer. He lives very well. He is very respected. He's receiving awards. And Mozart isn't, but Salieri knows from the very beginning, oh, this guy's better than me. And no one here knows it because these people are all idiots. But 100 years from now, no one's going to know my name and everyone's going to know his name. And so it's very interior. Mozart is broke.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny when you watch this. It's like it comes to Salieri to borrow money. He's like, I can't get students because everyone thinks I'm going to, make a move on their daughter, which is true. And I'm just, I don't have a court appointment, so I'm not taken care of. I don't have a patron. I'm just out here singing for my supper, as it were. And so Salieri has these moments of like, well, my position is secure. He's not threatening my livelihood. He's just a living example of a thing that reminds me of my mediocrity. It's like he was placed on earth in front of me to tell me by his very existence, I will never be the composer that I wanted to be. I will never be him.
Right. And the funny thing is, the prescient nature of the Salieri character is realistic because I mean, again, you and I are both creators. I mean, you've written plenty of things, and I've been doing this podcast now for almost a decade. Like, the creative process is an intense one. And I love that in this movie, it's like, yeah, like a lot of this creativeness is done in private, but when you interact with other people and you see other people and you start to understand the space that you're in, you realize that art is one of the few things that we as a society can all kind of look at from 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, and still be relevant in a way that a lot of things have no relevancy anymore because they feel outdated. But like art and stuff transcends time and space in a lot of ways. And that was the case in 1823. That's the case in 2023. And that's, again, credit goes to Peter Shaffer for knowing that and really leaning on that. Because again, Salieri's not worried about now. He's worried about something he cannot control 100 years from now. The legacy that he can't do anything about. The legacy that he's going to lose because, again, perception is Mozart's music will be better received by more people the longer it exists in the world.
Right. And well, that's the other thing that is just so lovely about this, the way the story is constructed, because we meet Salieri as an old man, and the bulk of the story, we are told, takes place 32 years previous, when he and Mozart are younger men, and by placing him in the future, he even articulates it at a certain point. Okay, spoiler alert, if you have not seen the movie, we're now going to be talking about certain plot elements. Mozart dies at the end. Okay, but he dies at the end of sort of the flashback sequences, which again are the bulk of the movie.
Right.
And it's important because Salieri says, he died, God took him, but God left me here. And it's been 32 years. And even in those 32 years, I have lived long enough to see people forget every good thing I ever did.
Right.
And he illustrates it because the framing device of the film is that as an old man, he's talking to a young priest or representative of the church who's visiting kind of an old folks home, as it were, a hospital or almost prison for the indigent, which is where Salieri has now found himself. And Salieri says, I'm a composer. Let me play a few tunes. And he plays a few tunes of his, and the young man is like, no, I don't recognize. And Salieri says, oh, how about this one? Bum, 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 bum. And the priest goes, da, 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 da. And Salieri says, yeah, that's Mozart. That's not me. And the man is sort of like, oh, he's embarrassed. Sorry. And he illustrates the point. Salieri is basically like, yeah, I get it. I have been forgotten, and yet I plink out a few notes of his, and they're going to be remembered forever. And the great thing is that the audience is doing the same thing. If you watched a theater full of people watching this movie, at that moment, you would see people in the audience sort of bobbing their head, because even now, people who know nothing about Mozart, don't even know that is Mozart. They know that little bit because it's just part of the fabric of our lives.
Well, and it's just in a similar way like Beethoven, right? I think Beethoven and Mozart are the two that that people, a lay person would know. And obviously, I mean, they have both such different stories, but yeah, I think the thing about Mozart and Salieri and that whole idea of the movie is so well defined in that first scene. It's like, you could just watch that first scene and you don't even have to watch the rest of the movie.
Well, it's not one of these things that holds back anything. It tells you right up front. It's like, here's what this movie is about. It's about, let me tell you about what it was like 30 years ago to meet the human being who I knew was basically going to erase me from humanity. And you've heard his name and I've heard his name, but I knew him. And let me tell you about that. And let me tell you how it drove me almost to the point of murder. And again, when he later sort of conceives of his quote unquote plan to kill Mozart, it's not because, again, he hates Mozart and must kill him. It's like, I am going to punish God. I'm going to punish him by destroying his chosen instrument. And then I'm even going to find a way to reclaim my place in history, basically by claiming credit for something that Mozart writes. And then God spites him by not letting that plan work. And again, and he recognizes that, and he's like, well, God and Mozart got the last laugh, and here I am, the patron saint of mediocrity, and that's all I will ever be. And it's so funny because, I was, just finishing up film school when I saw this movie, and everyone my age who was in film school watched this movie, and a fucking chill just ran through them because every one of us thought we were Mozart or would be. And we walked out going, oh shit,
No.
man, this is like the Ghost of Christmas future. Is this us? Who will we be in 32 years? Will we be Mozart or Salieri? Now, the fact of the matter is, those of us who became Salieri are fucking lucky. Most of us who went through film school aren't even doing what we studied. So the few of us who are lucky enough to be Salieri, that's one thing. And then there's a small group of Mozarts. I know which camp I'm in.
And that's the thing about this movie that I do appreciate. To your point, Salieri's life is not terrible.
Oh, yeah. No.
Salieri lives a really posh lifestyle that anyone at the time would envy. And but it's his own perceived shortcomings. And that's what makes this such a fantastic story, is it's a man dogged by his own internal feelings. Look, Mozart was going to do what Mozart was going to do one way or another. Salieri does very little in the way of influencing Mozart's creative talent. Mozart was Mozart without Salieri, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And there are very few scenes or moments within the movie where people are directly comparing the two of them to Mozart's advantage. There's a couple of scenes there, and there's one in particular where Mozart sort of parodies Salieri's style at a party, and does sort of a not particularly cruel, unless you're Salieri watching behind a mask, sort of imitation of the way Salieri plays and the kind of music he plays. And it's all in good fun. And Mozart lets out that high-pitched laugh that becomes exactly like sort of a signature leitmotif throughout the film. And you realize that in the moment, Mozart isn't really being an asshole, and people really aren't disliking Salieri. But because the movie is from Salieri's point of view, and you see F. Murray Abraham's, eyes glaring out from behind the mask as this is happening. And of course, he's devastated and humiliated because he sees the accuracy in the impression. I mean, again, that's the great thing, is that Salieri is not a guy who's like, well, fuck this young guy and I'm better than him. He doesn't have that attitude at all.
No.
He's like, oh my God, this guy is truly graced by God and he truly is better than me. But why? And why? And again, why that guy? You almost get the feeling that if Mozart was a very staid and responsible and respectable and respectful member of the court, Salieri would go, you know what? No harm, no foul. You're better than me, but we're all of the same class. And you know what? I get it. I get why God gave it to you and not me. And it sucks, but I can live with it. But what he can't live with is that aspect of Mozart's personality, the brash sort of arrogance of youth. And there is arrogance in Mozart, in the character as presented to us. It's the arrogance of a young artist who is absolutely convinced they're doing the right thing. Now, usually, reality smacks them in the face, and history smacks them in the face. But we know, and in a weird way, Salieri knows that he's right.
Right. And it's that makes this movie so good, is that they know, is that Peter Shaffer knew that and imbued him with a little bit of like universe galaxy brain. And it's perfectly okay because it works here because, like I said, like it doesn't feel unrealistic that he would understand the ramifications of what this is, because this is lives on forever. I mean, again, this, the Mozart story, the way it's presented here, you could almost say it's Van Gogh-esque, right? Like, oh, he's just not appreciated in his time. And now it's like Van Gogh is, Van Gogh is, immersive Van Gogh experience. And Van Gogh would look at all this and go, I don't know what the fuck Van Gogh would say, frankly. He would be thankful that somebody finally cares. Probably more than anything else.
And you picture, especially with Van Gogh, I think you picture sort of a sad, morose, tortured artist living in a grotto, on a hard crust of bread every day. And then he dies, alone, unrecognized. But what allows us to enjoy a 3-hour Amadeus movie or play is that the character is so alive, and there's a rock and roll sensibility to Mozart. Right. He's got that, again, that brash arrogance of youth, almost a punk rock sort of like, I'm changing things. And it's funny, to us, or to me, who is fairly ignorant about classical music and opera, I don't know the difference. But what this movie suggests pretty clearly is that what Mozart is doing is new and different and shocking. And we're kind of looking at it going, well, okay, you're telling me that, so I'll believe it. To me, it just sounds like opera, but okay. But within the context of the movie, it's very clear that he's pushing boundaries that the emperor or whoever the
cognoscenti.
The Jeffrey Jones, is not really comfortable with. There's a lot of people who are like, well, he's doing things we don't do. Right. And we're not really sure if we're going to allow for this, for the art form to be pushed this far forward this quickly. And very brilliantly, Peter Shaffer finds very practical ways of demonstrating that. What the opera that he's going to write, will it be in Italian or German, and why? And what traditions are being broken or tested, and why? And then later, there's another scene that, makes no sense, except we're told very clearly that and I keep forgetting what his title is. Jeffrey Jones in the movie. He's
Emperor Joseph II.
So he is emperor. Okay, good. For a second, I'm like, that can't be right, but I guess it is. Okay.
It's
so
the hair emperor. For me. It's the hair for me that does it. That's how you know he's the emperor, when he's got the hair and the little curls on the back of his head.
But for some reason, he has decreed that there will be no ballet within an opera. So we're told this. We don't know why, but we're told he has said it, and everyone is following that aesthetic rule. And it's, what's great about it is that the more arbitrary it is, and to us it seems very arbitrary, the stronger point is made that, well, that's like saying, I am the emperor, and now in all paintings the color yellow will not be used. And it's like, oh, well, okay, but that's weird. And now Mozart comes along and puts a ballet in his opera, and all the guys are, oh boy, he gonna get in trouble now. And then Jeffrey Jones, as the emperor, of course, comes in, a surprise appearance at a rehearsal, and watches. And then we cut right to the production, and the ballet is in because he's decided, oh, well, this is really good. I like it. And again, how galling that must be to all of those who followed the rules, even though they thought the rule was stupid, but they weren't bold and brash and arrogant enough to challenge those rules. But Mozart was. And by doing so, Mozart actually was not punished. He actually got his way. And for the other older men, they must have been going, you got to be kidding me. We've been following that stupid rule because we thought it was going to benefit us and put us in a better position. And now here comes this fucking genius. And he just goes, well, let me do it. And the emperor says, yes, Jesus Christ. I mean, again, it speaks to things so many movies and stories don't, which again, artistic jealousy, artistic aspiration, professional jealousy, all those things that are so familiar to people like you and I. And I think among people who do not make their living in a creative field, I think those emotions are recognizable.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so powerful and so juicy and fascinating. And what's interesting is it doesn't really get into much sex. There really is there's a little nudity, but really there is no sex in this movie. And yet something about this feels like sexual jealousy is in there, because again, these are, a young man and an older man, and who is more potent? I mean, there really is something. This is a juicy movie. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, no, there's some things that I was expecting this movie to have that it didn't. I think that's, and I think the elephant in the room in that regard is Milos Forman. I think if this had been a Ken Russell movie, it would have been more it would have been more like Listomania. Like, and in a lot of ways, like that would have been a little bit welcome here, just a little bit more subversiveness from Mozart and surrounding the Mozart character. Cause it's there, but I feel like the movie does hold back only because it is a serious movie in a lot of ways. Like it's a fun movie. It's a great movie. It flies by. It's 3 hours and it flies by, but it is kind of a serious movie.
Oh yeah. Well,
and Listomania is not like at all like giant penises and stuff. Like Ken Russell loves it. So it's less serious, but I kind of wish it just been a little bit more on the subversive side, which is that's a me thing. That's not a movie thing.
Well, there is something very, very sensual about the time period when you're watching. And again, I'm not a big history guy, but you look at the way people dressed and the wigs they wore, and they do one little scene where Mozart is trying on like 3 different wigs. It's like suddenly I think I'm watching Hedwig, and he's like, I wish I had 3 heads so I could wear them all.
That's my favorite line in the whole movie. Great? Mozart is. Tell me I'm wrong. He's kind of a coded gay character too, in a way, like, well, or bisexual. I mean, bisexual is gay, but like, you know what I mean? Like his yes. Flamboyantness,
yes,
it feels out of place at the time, and it works in regards to what the movie is going for. I just kind of wish it had been more. Like Tom Hulce is so good in this movie.
They're literally one degree off of having him put on Ziggy Stardust's wig. It's right. Like you get that. Oh, he is flamboyant, and you whether. And by the way, in the movie, he gets married and has a kid, and he's chasing ladies. So there's no literal reference to omnisexuality, or pansexuality or any,
right.
But you get this lust. He's got a lust for life, like Iggy Pop, and he loves the clothes, and he loves the music and the wine and the women and song and all of this in this isn't fucking Vienna where things are, sort of you play by the rules. At least when you're up at the level of being in the emperor's court, like Salieri is.
I mean, this is Joseph II. We're talking like, like the Enlightenment. This is like around the time of the Enlightenment. So people are being more progressive, but they're being more progressive. It's not immediate, right? So,
yeah.
But you see, it's almost like Mozart is like, I mean, again, like it would tie into the Salieri nature of, but like there's like a divine nature to Mozart that he's there to push the people forward. Like I'm taking you with me, like I'm dragging you with me, kicking and screaming into a new way of doing things. Cause that's what Mozart does. I mean, like you mentioned, like they're like, no ballet. And then it's like, ah, shit, it's this good. Like, fuck, we can't say no now. Like, that's it's the thing where Mozart, you always want to be the person who puts someone else in a position where they can't say no to your, like, to how, because of how good what you're doing is, how quality what you're doing is. And that's Joseph II finds himself in a position where he's like, oh, fuck, man. Like this, he's so talented that it's almost impossible to ignore him. He's making it hard for us to ignore him.
Yeah, exactly. And he never, it's never like he is, a full-throated advocate of Mozart, but and even then he's like, no, this new guy is talented, but I don't know, so there are too many notes. There's too many notes.
Another great line.
And a lot of this stuff was put in for the theater going crowd, because again, this was a Broadway, very successful play on Broadway before it was a movie, and that's Peter Shaffer kind of giving a shout out to everyone who's ever sat through a note session with someone, with a producer or anyone. I mean, certainly all TV and movie writers are like, oh my God. Yeah, too many notes.
It's too long. That's the podcast when it's too long.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh God, you just got to sit there while the idiot tells you what's wrong with your brilliant work. And Mozart, of course, is just like, he's so, his confusion and hurt is so naked on his face. He's just like, well, what was wrong with it? Did you not like it? And and too many notes and just the confusion, just sort of the being crestfallen at, you just don't get it, do you? And of course, anyone who's ever, again, taken the creative path knows that feeling. So those riches are here too. But again, Mozart is not worried about God, and Mozart isn't worried about the rules. Mozart is just worried about getting it right. And he knows it's right. He just knows it's something in his genetic makeup. He was literally born with it. At age 4, he was composing. Right. At age 7, he wrote, a not a full opera, but a, concerto, I guess. And yeah, he didn't do the opera till he was 12. So let's, be very clear. But it's so wonderful to just see his unleashed creativity. And he finally goes to the music hall to do, I guess, the Magic Flute, right, sort of in the final third of the movie. And that's where he will kind of be allowed. It's like, look, at the music hall, you don't have to worry. This is just the theater of the people. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about too many notes or no ballet. You can just let her rip. Now, what's interesting is that the theatrical release was only 2 hours and 40 minutes. So the version that I saw, which was 3 hours, right? Same thing for you.
Same.
There's 20 extra minutes of material, and I could guarantee you it was all in that final hour. Because in my memory, once Salieri articulates his plan to kill Mozart and take credit for his final work, the Requiem Mass, the movie sort of stays on that track, the theatrical release. The version that I watched last night felt like suddenly there was a lot more about, well, he's also at the same time working on this other thing that's going to be performed at the music hall. And it's the story of the Magic Flute, because we've covered Don Giovanni and we've covered Marriage of Figaro. So now we've got to sort of account for Die Zauberflöte, if you will.
Oh,
German coming out at you. But that and it's so for me, it made that final hour feel a little longer. It made that I guess the third act feel longer than it did in previous viewings. Still enjoyed it, but and of course, the best scene in the movie is in the final 10 minutes, and it's where the two of them are working together, because it brings to the forefront something that has been boiling under the surface throughout the entire film, which is that, again, Salieri doesn't hate Mozart. He kind of fucking loves him.
right.
He's kind of his number one fan. And he just, it's like, I kind of want you to know that I get it, that I get how brilliant you are, but I don't want to admit it to you because I don't want to give you one more drop of praise. You'll get enough in your life. But on the other hand, I want you to respect me. And the way I can get you to respect me is to let you know how much I respect you, that I get it. You know you're a genius and I know it too. And then in the end of the movie, he gets to really experience it by working with him.
And I think for me, once you get to that moment in the movie is when it I think it all kind of coalesces. Cause I think you could look at this movie and I think a lesser screenwriter / playwright would look at this and say, well, it's just a rivalry. And it's not, I mean, again, like it's not like that,
No.
That scene at the end is, I think, it's the final puzzle piece that really unlocks the key of what this is, which is it's not about rivalry. Ultimately, if it is about rivalry, it's not about external, much more internal. And the strife that one feels by just being around someone that talented. I mean, look, I work with someone who's immensely talented in podcasting, as do you.
Thank you.
You son of a bitch, you. You're welcome. But we also work with Mike White, who is immensely talented when it comes to podcasting. And I can understand where someone would get to doing the kinds of things that Salieri in the movie feels, where it's like, when I am in the room with you, I am happier to work with you than try to be at odds with you. But that is a 5-degree turn from just feeling angry at you because you're so much more talented. Like, I get it. Because like you can get yourself there, but it's that scene at the end where you're like, oh, okay. Like, he's not kidding. Like, he does think that he is a genius, even though he's trying to kill him, which trying to kill him is such a misnomer. I think Mozart kills himself because he's an alcoholic, right? Like,
like that's a little the way I look at it is that he sort of thinks he's going to eventually have to murder Mozart, because that is sort of part of his plan. But then once he sets his plan into motion, the first part, the part where he dresses up in that fantastic black cape and black hat.
God. It's on the poster for everything.
Yeah, the comedy tragedy faces on either side of the head, so that when you turn away, the other expression reveals itself, which again is just, I mean, you could write your whole college final on the thematic meaning of that within this. But anyway, once he begins doing that, it's secretly paying him because he needs money. So a secret person is paying him to write a requiem mass. Almost from that moment, Mozart's health begins to deteriorate, and you almost feel that he's being consumed from within by his own unstoppable genius, and it's consuming him somehow. And and it's almost like a human body can't contain it, is the best feeling I get from that section of the movie. And I think Salieri sees this and realizes, well, I don't really have to do much to kill this guy other than just keep stoking that fire, keep giving him money and telling him work harder. And this guy will just burn up.
Right. Give him enough rope to hang himself with.
Yeah. And which is ultimately what happens in the movie and in the play. So it's like, okay, but you get that great scene at the end where it's like, he has to complete it. He's got one last day to complete this Requiem Mass, and he's exhausted and he's sick. But Salieri is there at his bedside. And Mozart's like, okay, can you help me? And Salieri's like, on his face, and F. Murray Abraham is so great because on his face, it's like, oh, I thought you'd never ask. I actually, of course I'll help you. And so it's like, okay, grab the paper, you write, I'll sort of talk you through it. And so they start doing it, and he becomes Mozart's, scribe. And then you really see it. You see Mozart just almost like he's channeling it. He's like, okay, D minor, and then D minor goes into this. And then on the second beat of the third bar, it's this. And there's two great moments that are very memorable in this. The first is of course, Salieri going, so you're going too fast. You're going too fast. Slow down. And it's like his genius is unstoppable. Right. But a normal human being can't keep up with that thought process. It's just going too fast. We've all known people like this in the sciences, in the arts. It's like my brain isn't. It's just not your brain. It's like you're Kobe Bryant. You're Michael Jordan, and I'm just a great athlete.
Right.
It's like, I mean, imagine those people who are on those Super Bowl winning teams that are like, yeah, I made it to the Super Bowl, but I'm not Tom Brady.
Right.
It's like the elite within the elite. Well, that's what we're dealing with now. So Salieri is trying to write, and Mozart is dictating. And so the you're going too fast is the first one. And then the second one is he starts saying, okay, now write this. And Salieri picks his pen up and sort of leans back, and it's like, no, what that doesn't make any sense. What you're saying doesn't make any sense. You don't want that. And he's like, no, yes, this, then this, then this. And it works because of this. And he's like, no, but I and then it hits, he's of course. Like I didn't even see it. Yes. Again, I'm coming face to face with my mediocrity in the face of genius. And yet it's compelling. It's thrilling for me to sort of, this is as close as, frankly, look, Salieri, this is as close as you're ever going to get to your God.
Right.
This is your moment, man. You wanted God. This is it. You're not going to, a hand is not going to reach down from the heaven. You're going to get one night with Mozart where you stay up all night with him and you witness and participate in his creative genius. And, man, take that. And he does. And there's a part of his soul that is thankful for that. But ultimately, he is unable to get over himself enough to go, you know what? I knew greatness. And in his dying moments, he called me his friend, and I was his friend. And you know what? Good enough for me. But the tragedy of Salieri is that he could never quite give it up. And Mozart died, and he lived out his life in wealth and then finally obscurity, never quite forgiving God for not giving him the talent he gave Mozart.
And it's that last beat where he just can't give it up that I think ultimately makes him such an interesting character, right?
Yeah,
because again, if he gets absolution at the end, who the fuck cares, right? Like what character journey is that? But this is a character who I don't think he's beyond reproach, though. Like he doesn't kill Mozart. So he could, it's just he can't get out of his own way. He can't get out of his own way. And that's ultimately what the movie's about. It's not about Mozart. It's the fact that Salieri just couldn't get out of his own goddamn way.
Well, and to sit and to sit sort of in your sullen poutiness for 32 years. Like at a certain point, a guy like Salieri could step back for a moment and go, wait a second, though. This guy was incredibly talented and it killed him. Like a human brain, he was almost cursed with talent because it was too much for him. And the rate that Mozart had to work to express, literally physically express this talent and creativity out into the world, that process alone killed him. The alcohol he had to drink to sort of quiet the creative voices coursing through his brain. His story is a tragedy. Salieri had a good life. Right, exactly. But when what you want is to be immortal through genius and to be appreciated long after you're dead, that's tough. That's not many people can pull that off, can go, I am devoting my life to my art, especially in the world, where I am. If there's people that I'm sitting around with who are like, I will not be satisfied until I'm writing something that is Emmy winning and beloved by all viewers. It's like, man, if that's what you're chasing, you're going to die sad because we live in an era now where you're going to hear from your haters as much as your love. You think George Lucas is happy?
I hope with all that money he is, but I know he's not.
I fear that in many ways he isn't. And this is a guy who succeeded at exactly what he wanted to do. If there's a Mozart, it's in a way it's him, and yet he's got as many haters as lovers,
right? And
he sort of lived long enough to realize that he participated in the downfall of his own creation. And even though all the money in the world isn't necessarily turning him into the happiest man in the world. Now, this is me talking about George Lucas as a character. I don't know him, and I don't know. He might be very happy. I hope he is. But genius and money and being followed by millions of fans, I can tell you, is not soul satisfying in the way people think it might be. Because I know people who have reached that level, and that does not make them happy.
Right.
If they're happy, it's because they have found an individual way through themselves and through their close-knit family to be happy. But it ain't public adulation, and it ain't millions of dollars, and it ain't a shelf full of Academy Awards.
Right. And that's the thing ultimately that Salieri misses, right? Yeah. He misses it. He misses it because again, Salieri, the character, I'm sure Salieri, the real person, was not like this in the end. Like it's almost too dramatic to be real, the way his character acts. But I guess I've never stood 2 feet from greatness or from God as he would perceive it. So maybe that is so life-changing to share that space that it is hard to ever move past it. I mean, you hear about people whose family members get kidnapped and disappear, and they're never able to let it go. And that's real life. That's not characters in a movie. So maybe it again, I couldn't get myself to that point.
Right.
But to watch that story, I guess, is to watch the story of it happening is also reaffirming to me that I know I couldn't get to that place.
Yeah, it's the element of religious mania that eludes me and eludes you, that we can understand intellectually, but we you and I don't feel that when good things or bad things happen to us, we're probably not looking directly at a personified God and saying, this is your fault.
Right.
And I will never forgive a supreme being for doing this to me. And that's very much how Salieri's character is portrayed in this particular work by Peter Schaefer, who is fantastic and a genius in his own right, and also wrote a play called Equus, which you've probably heard of, and they made a movie, but the play was a sensation. And it dealt with similar themes. Equus is about a psychologist who's working with what is rightly considered to be an extremely disturbed young man who committed a particularly heinous crime of taking basically like a leather working tool, an awl, and blinding a stable full of horses. And in working with this young man, what is revealed is that this young man had this almost preternatural love of horses. He considered them gods in a way. And he led this sort of exalted emotional life based on his connection to horses, riding horses, being with horses. And he was experiencing a kind of almost religious ecstasy in a way that few human beings do, that exalted him. And then I guess what happens in the play is that he, for whatever reason, sort of crosses paths with a woman and finally has sex with her, which is not how he seeks out his exalted pleasure. His pleasure is riding and being with horses, but he has sex, and I guess he regrets it, and he does it in the stable in view of the horses. And the result of this is that he feels he has profaned his relationship with the horses and the horses themselves because they have witnessed him in this act. And so he blinds them. And the psychologist figures this out and realizes that in his mania, this kid has also reached a level of existence that transcends the workaday boring life that the rest of us have. And so he again, it's almost like on the way to Amadeus, he writes Equus as a way of trying to get at a feeling of what makes human beings feel more than human. What are those exalted moments, and at what cost?
Right.
And I think Amadeus really nails it. I think he gets it with Amadeus. So that's one of the reasons I love it.
Could you make the case that Amadeus is about the belief in God?
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, I think
and what you risk, the risk of the devotion to the holy, you put yourself at risk.
Right. Because when you believe divine providence is taking place, you don't question it.
Yeah.
Why didn't Salieri just go, okay, Mozart's great, I could be better, as opposed to, oh, he's put here by divine providence, by the creator, who we all eminently believe in. So we're not questioning that. We're not questioning the existence of God. We're questioning the existence of why God would do this to someone like me. And it's like you assume that there is a intention behind what God is doing, directed laserly at you, like a laser-like focus at you. And it's like that, again, that comes out of the idea and the belief in God, that God cares about you to begin with. So therefore, if something happens to you, like you've said, that is happening to you intentionally by God.
Well, Salieri made a deal with God, and that
so
deal
he believes.
So he believes, but he believed it, and he put that belief into action. He did not, he was celibate. It sounds like he did not participate in basically the pleasures of the flesh.
Right.
He almost led a monastic. He's like, I can take all of that energy that I could spend on drinking and eating and whoring, and all I'm going to do, or even forget whoring, just even going out and courting a woman and finding a wife.
Right.
I'm not going to do any of that, God. I'm just going to devote myself to honoring you through my music. Okay? Deal. And that's what he did. And he gave up a lot. And then he meets Mozart, who's fucking and drinking and laughing it up and living a Philistine existence, and is a genius. Now, why would God do that? Why is he God's favorite?
So what does the movie say about our relationship with God then? Or their relationship with God, or the perceived relationship? That's what I was trying to figure out while watching the movie, I understand the other kind of themes of the movie, but I'm trying to understand what Schaefer is getting at with humanity's relationship to God and how it could get in the way of rational belief, possibly. Maybe that's what it is. That's what I take away.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like, what do you risk when you are making a one-sided deal with a God that you have interpreted in your own way? Now, well, maybe that's not fair to the character of Salieri. He lives in a culture where there is an accepted notion of what God is and what God does, and it's shared by all of his peers, or many of his peers, most of his peers, and so you can sort of say, okay, his love for God is kind of just another way of him expressing his love for music and creativity. And that's his true God. And that's the God that's a little bit closer to him, because he does work in that field and he does compose music, and he does have the ability to recognize the genius of Mozart. So in a more earthly sense, he has this deep understanding of music. And he also has deep self-awareness. He is not self-deluded. He is aware of all of his feelings, and he is accurate.
Right.
And he is also aware of talent when he sees it. So there's no... and he even recognizes that as part of his curse. He's like, God, forget God not respecting the deal we made. God must specifically hate me, because he went, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the ability to recognize genius, and then I'm going to show you a genius to demonstrate to you how ungenius you are. Fuck you, Salieri. And he's left with no other way to interpret it. And it's heartbreaking.
Well, and that is, the other thing to your point. It's like Salieri, again, puts himself in a position where he feels that God is doing that to him directly. And like you said, it's like, we don't know what we don't know about the other side. So you're just like, you're putting intent to things that seem without understandable intent, or what I would perceive to be intent.
Yeah.
He's just like, it was all God. God did this to me. Why would God do this to me?
Yeah.
Why not?
And yeah. And it's funny because he is not a, he's not a suicide bomber. He's not a religious fundamentalist in a way that touches on other aspects of his life. It's very music centered. He believes, and probably a lot of people believed and probably still believe, that talent on that level is a supernatural gift.
Right. Well, and at the time that was the explanation, right? And the
Sure.
believed and perceived explanation. So
Well, and even when we look at people, Stephen Hawking or whoever, just the people, and again, athletes, actors, writers, musicians, people who just seem to be operating at a whole other level. It's how do you explain that to yourself? And when we're on the outside of it, we just enjoy it. But when you're on a team with Michael Jordan, you're glad you're on his team. Yeah, again, but you're sort of like, well, come on. I'm working hard. Really?
I'd rather be on the team with Michael Jordan than playing against Michael Jordan.
I guess, yeah.
Anyway, you're guaranteed a win. That's the thing. That is the thing ultimately about this movie, right? Salieri and Mozart end up working together. The Requiem gets put away at the end. So, it ends up seeing the light of day. It does end up getting finished, but doesn't happen in the movie. But it's that same thing where it's like, and here's my opportunity to try and do the thing maybe that I haven't really been doing, which is work with him directly. And even then, I can't catch a fucking break.
Right.
And it's like all those things make Salieri feel so victimized. He is one of the best examples of a character with the victim complex in a movie. Like if you want to point someone at be like, I don't think Salieri is a narcissist, but
yeah,
it could be interpreted that way. Like that interpretation would track because he feels like the universe is bearing down on him solely. Like the universe has somehow put its thumb, instead of putting its hand down on everybody else, it's sticking its thumb right down on him and saying this is because of you. Like, I don't know why because of you, but because of you. Like
all credit goes to Peter Schaefer for building this little machine that allows you sympathy for Salieri. And sometimes just by showing us, there's that one scene where Mozart's wife comes to him and shows him original work, and Mozart has no idea she's doing this. And so Salieri is like, wait, what? This is original work you're showing me? What is this? What is this? And she's like, yes, please, we need money. So could you please look at this? And is there any way you can see, to help us out? And just for a moment, he's like, okay, now is when I do the shitty thing. And he's like, come to my house tonight, come to my personal quarters. And it's very clear. It's like, come to my house and have sex with me. And then you'll get what you're asking for. I'm going to take advantage of the power I have over you at this moment. And I think that's a moment in the movie where you're like, whoa, wait, what? And you're surprised. It's not one of those things where you're like, oh, of course, this guy's a full-on asshole, and of course he's going to do that. You're really like, really? And then, of course, ultimately, he does not. She shows up, and he's like, I can't do this. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm just not that guy. That is not my interest. I'm not interested in getting laid. I'm interested in music. I'm interested in me being really good at it and trying to figure out why he's so good at it. Fucking his wife, is what a normal shitty guy would do in a different movie, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for I'm on a whole different battlefield fighting a whole different battle. Now, that having been said, I just want to jump in here because we have not talked a lot about other aspects of the movie. And I want to touch on something that was a complaint about the movie at the time it came out. And that was how contemporary it felt in terms of performance and language, even accents, even the fact that Tom Hulse, and I think the name is pronounced Hulse, but I may be wrong. But the fact that he sort of did not attempt that sort of mid-Atlantic accent that many people do when they're trying to imply that they're speaking English, but it is somewhat British or European. He didn't do that. He was just talking like a guy from 1984.
Right.
Emperor, please understand. And it bothered people there. And a lot of characters don't push I am in a period piece sort of speech affectation. And for some reason, it bothered a lot of people. I noticed it right away again. I'm like, oh, right. This sounds a little weird. This sounds very contemporary, but it didn't bother me. Did it bother you?
I don't know what there is to bother. It's intentional. I mean, it's made to show Mozart as a man out of place and out of time. Like, right? Like, it's more Mozart than anybody else. Like, I think Mozart is the one who's playing the game the least of like Effery Abraham's doing the affectation. Jeffrey Jones is doing the affectation, but I agree. Like, but I think like if that's something that would like get in the way of your enjoyment, it's intended to show you that like this guy doesn't belong here.
He's like, modern.
Yeah. He's like a guy. He's going and fucking chicks and doing drugs, rock and roll, baby. Like that's like, again, like when I said Listomania, like that is what Listomania gets into is like, this guy's enjoying himself. And I'm not going to lie to you. If I were this guy and I knew I was the guy that everybody else perceives me to be, I'm going to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys if you think I'm not supposed to. You don't get to tell me that. And that's the other thing. The thing about Mozart in this movie is he is his own autonomous entity to a fault, right? Even to the point of like his performance is just Tom Hulce being Tom Hulce. Like, it's picked over Animal House, guys. Like, pretty much like, oh, he grew up and went back in time and became Mozart. Like Tom Hulce has that energy, and we haven't really talked about like, I think the performances, because I think the movie is just so cohesively good that it all just kind of merges together. But I would go as far as to say that this movie is masturbatory in how technically impressive it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fun. As I've said, it's just so fun to watch. It's like, wow, the number of costumes, the quality, the style, just the fact that it just sort of revels in like, look, if you were doing a stage production, here's what it would look like. And again, I don't know how accurate it is, but my God. And then they go to the costume party and people have animal heads and masks and wigs and giant dresses and suits and, knee socks and shoes. I mean, just everything about it is like, is eye candy.
Right.
Even the scene where Salieri toward the beginning sneaks into the reception hall and sees all the pastries and the candies laid out for the visiting Mozart. And he goes to steal one and is immediately caught. And I was watching that last night going, oh my God, I'd give anything for a slice of one of those cakes.
I love the opulence of this movie. I don't think it like had to be opulent, but I think I don't think the audience would have appreciated a pared down version of this story. I think the thing that works about this story is you have to make it seem as like opulent as possible. And Forman milks it in every scene. I mean, we have recreations of Mozart's most famous operas, like whole parts are being recreated. And because of the way that they're being presented in context, it adds to what the movie is going for. But they didn't have to recreate these operas in the movie, but we get to see it. And it's so good. It doesn't get in the way. It doesn't feel, because, you and I talk Indian cinema a lot. It doesn't get in the way of the movie like you would expect it to.
Well, no, because it's, and I think it's important to show what the, what context all of this is operating in. Like, well, okay, so what, if this is the world of music, how were people consuming music and theater and opera at this time? What did it look like? What did it sound like? And there's the composer, conducting and all of that. And what's great about it is that it felt, it didn't feel spotless, because sometimes more modern period pieces will give you set design that feels almost sterile. Like, oh, these are beautiful pieces that are also brand new and have never been touched. Whereas in this film, I got the feeling that These are beautiful pieces that have existed in the world for as long as they would have existed. This chair was designed and built, a few decades ago and still sits in this drawing room, but it looks like someone has sat in it at least once. It doesn't look like the plastic was just taken off. There's a grain to the film. There's a feeling, again, it's a feeling you don't get from movies nowadays. Nowadays, movies feel like they have been produced in a lab.
Right.
I guess many of them have.
Created by
and have
committee.
Never touched human. They've never suffered human touch. They've never been, breathed upon by a human being. This didn't feel like that. These were lived in environments that were beautiful and amazing and great to see, but also felt like they had existed for a while before the camera crew showed up.
I think that's what Forman brings, his eye for that, and having an Eastern European sensibility that he brings to this movie, I think really, really benefits everything about this movie. And look, I mean, this movie is considered to be one of the greatest films ever made. I would understand why people feel that way, and I would be inclined to agree. It won enough Academy Awards and awards in general, I think, if you use that as just a barometer. But I mean, the thing that this movie had that is unique is there has yet to still be 2 Best Actor nominations in one movie. This movie still is the only movie that has ever had 2 actors in the same movie nominated for Best Actor.
Really?
Yup. Isn't that wild? Still, as of 2023, as of the most recent Academy Awards.
I had no idea. I would have thought that would have happened many times because you figure, well, really good movies have more than one really great performance. But yeah, I guess they were both leading roles. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think ultimately at the end of the day, I find myself torn between who I like more. I think I like F. Murray Abraham a lot, and I think they're both. Yeah. So I think to get bogged down in which one is better is almost to try to meet the movie head on with what it wants. It's I don't want to get bogged. You know what I mean? It's asking that question. It's I think they're both really good, and I don't think if either one of them had been a different actor, this movie would have worked as well as it did. I think their chemistry is good, and I think what they bring to the movie separately is also very good. I like F. Murray Abraham a lot.
Oh, he's so great. His eyebrows deserve their own Academy Award.
I just love his voice.
It's so good. And he's so he's subtle, but not subtle.
Right.
It's he's doing things and exactly what he's doing and thinking and feeling at every second. There's always a shot of him reacting and having the thoughts and feelings that Salieri would have, and the audience tracking every last one of those beats. And he does it in a way that is very clear, but not overdone. But that's the advantage of having a face and eyes like his. You don't have to do a lot for people to go, oh, I know what's going on that face. I know what's going on behind those eyes.
And that's the other thing. When I think about F. Murray Abraham, he is a consummate character actor. He's not a guy who went from this and then became a leading man, like sometimes happens when you become an Academy Award nominee and then winner. He won for Best Actor in this movie. I would contend F. Murray Abraham has not been the lead in any other movie since ever. This is a movie that is also driven, and I think that's maybe the thing that I love about it the most. It's a movie driven by character actors at every single level. I'm not going to sit here and say Tom Hulce and F. Murray Abraham are leading men, because they're not. They're character actors in ensemble pieces.
Well, I wonder, I don't know. F. Murray Abraham is still alive.
Yeah.
Until very recently was working on a TV show and then kind of, got into some old guy trouble by being a jerk, apparently, to other people, which is sad and distressing to hear. But having said that, I don't know how old he is right now.
83.
Okay, so he's 83. This movie was 40 ish years ago,
Almost
40 years ago. Yeah. Okay. So if he's 80, so let's say he was 40 ish, early 40s when he did the movie. And then how old was Tom Hulse? Early 30s? 30? Was there a 10-year span between them?
I think so. Yeah.
How old is Tom Hulse now?
69. So 13 years.
Okay, so all right,
years.
so that sort of makes sense. You sort of get the feeling. I mean, it's funny because Tom Hulse has a very youthful face, and then F. Murray Abraham has just a more mature face. He
just like from birth.
Yeah, I think when he was in college, you'd walk into your classroom and for a second think he was the professor before realizing he was another student.
Right.
One of those faces. But yeah, so there felt like there was a generational divide between these two, and I see that it was. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, they, realistically, they might have even leaned on that a little bit more, and they didn't have to here. Like, they were leaning on other things, not like the generational divide, because ultimately, like, that's not what matters. It's funny. I mean, you work in the entertainment industry, and you know all about like the walk through the door and then close it behind you type thing, and don't let anybody else in behind you. That's a perception, right? The older people don't want to work with the younger people because they're not interested in their new ideas and stuff. And Salieri is not like that. He's atypical. No. It's against expectation. Yeah. Because like you said, there's a generational expectation that like, I'm up here, you're down here, and we're never going to see eye to eye. Like people my age and people your age should not theoretically get along. I mean, I get along with people your age better than I get along with maybe people a little bit older. But that's, again, like the expectation is you're not supposed to, because there's just too much separating you just on the face of it.
Well, and that's what makes his character so engaging and to use an industry phrase, likable, is that we do like him because he doesn't just sort of pro forma reject Mozart because he's young and he is a threat. He is in between. The emperor and the others are sort of like, well, we don't really like or understand this new guy, and he could very easily be dismissed by us. And really, Salieri is almost the person who's like, no, you shouldn't dismiss him. He's very good. And he sort of can't help but somewhat advocate for Mozart because he does recognize the genius. He's no dummy. So yeah, that's he's also on our side. Because we recognize it too. So We're like, okay, well, I think if he didn't recognize it, he was just upset that other people did, we would consider Salieri a dummy. And you don't want that. So, yeah.
I enjoyed this movie a lot, Richard. This was a very good movie. Again, it's good. Even if it hadn't been well acted, it still is technically impressive. And that, again, like, the set, I mean, we barely talked about the set design and everything else, but like there's so much else to mine with this movie. But like this movie is a feast for the eyes, as one might say.
Well, and here's the thing, like, and you also, because the story is so great and the writing is so brilliant, that you can almost get the feeling that seeing it on stage without a lot of adornment would still be fascinating.
Totally.
And it's often not done. Sometimes there are large, lavish productions, obviously, but I've seen it done at the college level where they simply don't have the means and the money. And so they push a piano on stage and they push a couple of chairs and, they suggest costumes and it works beautifully.
Yeah. I mean, again, I 100% believe it. And this, I would love to read more Peter Shaffer stuff, because I think that he has an interesting voice and clearly a very distinct way of thinking about things that I and yourself and I think a lot of other people clearly resonate with, because this story is so unique because Peter Shaffer's unique voice comes through. Anybody else might have told, and other people had. I mean, Peter Shaffer wasn't the first person to tell the story of Mozart and Salieri. I mean, it was based off of a play from like the 30s, I believe. So
he is a writer concerned with and compelled by aspects of human behavior and motivation that just, these are fields untilled by other writers. So that alone gives him his own domain that is really fun to explore.
It's almost Schrader-esque in a way. Like the topic at hand is not really, it's the vehicle through which we're having the discussion. Like Hardcore, right? Where that movie is about Calvinism, not really about the porn industry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All
So
right.
Richard, final thoughts on Amadeus?
I've given you so many thoughts. My final thought is, if you haven't seen it, see it. You will love it.
Yeah, I agree. You know, now I've finally seen the movie that one of the best jokes in Last Action Hero is based on, because F. Murray Abraham shows up in that movie and the kid in that movie goes, he's the guy who killed Mozart. And he says it to Schwarzenegger in the movie. And then Schwarzenegger goes up to F. Murray Abraham's character in the movie and goes, I don't trust you because you killed Mo. Mo who? Mozart.
Jesus.
But it's F. Murray Abraham. That's what makes it work, right?
Are you telling me I need to see Last Action Hero, a movie I have never seen?
Wow.
Yeah.
I would say yes. Mike White would say no because he detests that movie.
Huh. All right.
But all of that aside, I am so glad to have finally sat down and watched this movie because it came in and was received the way I expected it to be, which is not something I can say for a lot of movies, where everything I've heard about it, it lived up to it. And I look forward to the next time I get to watch it for the third time now, because I watched it almost back to back because I enjoyed it so much. And you know what? We didn't talk about the music even, but guess what? It's a Mozart movie. So what kind of music do you think's in the movie?
Yeah.
Plenty
Great
of
music.
classical Mozart. So this is just almost a perfect movie in a lot of ways. And like I said, I'm so glad you wanted to watch it, Richard, and that you pushed for it. So
Good.
So until the next time you join me, which who knows when that will be, soon, late.
You can find me on the picket line. My union, the Writers Guild, is on strike. And a lot of people have reached out saying, hey, how can we support the writers who are out on strike? And ways you can do it are to join us on the picket line. If you're in LA or New York, that's the easiest way. You can support us on social media under the hashtag on Twitter, WGA Strong. Or you can donate to the Entertainment Community Fund, and you can find that at entertainmentcommunity.org. And that is an organization that supports actors, writers, directors, sort of the whole sort of entertainment community, who are often going through hard times. And so if you go to that website and you click on film and television, you can donate specifically to that. Because there's other categories you can, people who are, specializing in live performance or music. But in this case, it's film and television. You can help us all out. And we're on strike, not for like a raise on top of a raise on top of a raise. The financial situation for movie and television writers has been growing steadily worse for decades. And the last 10 years have been especially injurious. And so we're now fighting for a way to remain a middle-class career, and support our families and have a health fund and a pension. So like a lot of Americans, we are trying to support ourselves and our families. And instead, we're supporting a couple of billionaires at the very top. And you know what? They're doing fine. They don't need our support. So now we're looking for some help from them going the other way, because we're doing the work. we're doing the work that's making the house. So don't, don't forget that those billions come from somewhere. Anyway, that's my little spiel. I won't give it every time, but since this is an emerging issue and it'll probably be going on for a while, I did want to say something.
And as someone who works adjacent to that industry, anyone and everyone who can and should and wants to should do what they can to support this, because if you work in an industry where you are protected, you had to get there somehow. And these are the growing pains and the things necessary to protect everybody who does good work.
Yeah, that's really true. I mean, the protections we have are directly from the sacrifices made by earlier generations of Writers Guild members. And we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for the future of our profession. So please, if you have enjoyed movies and television in your life, consider helping us out. We want to get back to work too.
Now's your opportunity to pay it forward back to the people who have spent their time entertaining you, folks. And the value proposition here ain't that fucking hard, frankly. If you have, like you said, if you've ever watched anything, $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, keep in mind, it's not going to be, I'm okay and I will be okay. Because I've been lucky, but there's a lot of writers, especially in television at sort of beginning levels and lower levels who are just beginning their careers, who have had an enormously hard time getting a secure foothold because, they're just the television landscape now, short orders, cancellations after 1 or 2 seasons of 8 episodes each. That's just, it's not enough time to fully declare yourself within an industry. So we're addressing those issues too, but there are a lot of extremely talented people who are just starting out and who do not have the financial wherewithal to continue. So we're all finding ways to get supplementary income, but there's going to be people who are going to approach this fund and need some help. And so again, please, consider kicking in a few bucks.
And speaking of kicking in some bucks, as for the other side of the struggling artist coin, you can find this show and all the other shows over at weirdingwaymedia.com, where I do this show, Mike White does the projection booth, and Richard's wife does 80s TV Ladies. And those 3 shows are awesome. I mean, I'm biased, but hey, at least I can admit
I agree.
it. Yeah, right. But yeah, and speaking of asking for money, if you'd like to kick any money our way to the Kulturecast to help us out doing what we do, patreon.com/Kulturecast. But if you can't do it that way, like Richard said, our version of the picket line is just like, rate, and review the show wherever you get it, because that helps us out without any monetary donations. So, Richard, thank you so much for joining me as always.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to be able to wax poetically about quality movies together.
I love it.
And we'll catch you on the next episode.